And hello again, and here we are back in my garage. Now at the end of the last video we were talking about the crease in the side of my tank and how to get rid of it, and Jeff was pretty sure he had a method that should get rid of that crease in the tank. And so let's go to Jeff's workshop now and see how he's getting on.
I'm trying to work out if we put a mark there. Right, back on that end. What I'm trying to guess
where it's going to be.
Like I sort of line that up. That is in the crease. It's not bad, that is it? I'm trying to work out if it's sort of in the
correct area.
You know, in the right area.
Yeah.
So it's not far. No. Now we know that it's more or less vertical. So somewhere now that. I'm Is that good?
It has improved a little bit. Around there.
Yeah,
that's got a lot better. Keep on doing that.
Good, that's good.
If you keep doing that, I think we should be getting Oh, that's done something. I saw that.
I think that's...
I can feel a little bump there now.
Yeah, we can always...
correct that.
What I want, I think what the main thing is to try and get that.
I think that's pretty damn good now.
What, do you think that's...
Yeah, there's a slight hollow there.
But the thing is, if you blend, if that was...
That's so tiny now.
Tinged.
Compared to what it was. You've now got a bit of a groove there, but I'm not too concerned about that.
If this corner is at the... Right.
It's where the badge is, isn't it?
It's still got that little tiny crease there.
Yeah, well, go on then, give it another little...
It might just be a fraction.
Give it a little bang.
It still looks like it's going in a little bit, that. Just if we can get that corner out,
yeah, we'll be happy.
Then that.
Well, I'm already impressed because that was a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah, it's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there. Like.
Don't bang the red on
the bloody door.
Yeah.
This is where
your magic hammer comes into play.
Well, it might want. I would say, that's a tiny bit high there.
Yeah, there's a little bump there. Yeah, just give it a little bang. If not, I'll do it for you.
That's not too bad, that. Tell you what we'll do, just go and get some wet and dry.
Yeah.
And we'll give it a rub over with a block and you'll see if it's...
And now, here we are back home again. So now I'm going to use my orbital sander and just go over this area again to see what we've got, and hopefully things should be looking quite promising. And now with the paint removed, we can see where we've still got a bit of an issue. Now obviously I've got this groove here, still present, but it's a lot less deep than it was. We've also got a problem here and a problem here. That said, I can't feel anything there at all. It's so smooth. I don't think you'll even notice that when I've got the primer in place. Ditto here, can't feel that. And what I'm really happy about is we had a big dent here on the corner of this indentation where the badge lives, and that's now completely gone. I'm really happy with that. So next then, I'm going to get some filler and hopefully sort out these problems here. As I say, I think this won't be a problem at all. I can't even feel it. And this is a lot less deep than it was, and I think it should look pretty good once I filled it and rubbed it down. And so we'll start off by using this stuff, U-Pol Dolphin 1K Stopper. It doesn't need any hardener and it dries off really, really quickly, and it's really easy to use, and so let's give it a go. Bit cold today, a bit too cold really for working on body work, but we'll do our best. So I've got an old AA card here to use. So let's see if this works. Get on. And now it's about half an hour later, and I can see straight away I've got a slight hollow here, so I need a bit more work in that area. I've also gone over a few more problem areas on the tank, and so now I'm going to use my sander and hopefully get them looking pretty good. So here we go. And so now I've added another layer of stopper here and here, the two problem areas on the tank, but everything else on the tank I'm pretty happy with. And so once that's dried off, we'll go over it again, and fingers crossed, the tank should be done and now ready for paint. Now really, it's a bit too cold to be painting outside today, but I do want to get a bit of paint on the tank just to protect it from rust. So what I've done is, I've got my undercoat here, my primer, and I've left it in some warm water just to warm up the can a little bit and warm up the paint, and that feels pretty warm now. And that's a much better way of doing it than trying to heat this thing with, say, a heat gun or something like that, because that can lead to all kinds of problems and it can explode. And don't ask how I know about that. So anyway, now I've got this thing nice and warm, let's try it out in the tank and see how good it looks. Right, so this matte grey is quite difficult to see how good my repair is. It's actually quite difficult. I think I'm not quite there yet. There's a slight indentation there. So while it looks pretty good, looks a lot better than it did, I can still see a slight problem in this area. So I think this needs a bit more work, as always. And now here we are, it's the next day, and I'm pretty much finished with the work on the tank. Now, while it's not absolutely perfect, it's not bad, and I'm pretty happy with the result. So what's next? Well, next I've got to consider the underside of the tank, because it's a bit rusty here and there, but nothing too bad. So for the underside, I'm not going to spray paint it the same colour as the top of the tank, because the paint I've got is very expensive, and I don't want to waste it on the underside. So this will probably be brush painted with some thick rust proofing undercoat, followed by maybe some black paint, maybe hammerite, something like that, very tough finish, because you can't see it when it's on the bike, so who cares. So talking about the paint for the bike, the colours and so on, let me put this down and we'll talk about the paint. So when it comes to the paint for the bike, it arrived the other day from eBay, and it arrived in 3 cans, and these 3 cans cost me about £49, which is quite a lot of money for 3 cans of paint. And the reason for that I'll come to in a minute. So what I've got is, we'll start off with the base coat, which is metallic coarse silver, followed by the colour coat, which is candy apple blue, followed by the top coat, or the clear lacquer, which goes on top. So we're all good. I'm not sure whether this is going to be enough to do the whole bike, but we'll soon find out. I can always buy some more if needed. So why was it so expensive? Well, it's because, well, first of all, candies do cost more, but mainly it's because of this clear top coat, this clear lacquer, because it's 2K. It's not a standard 1K, which is what these colour cans are and what you get from Halfords and so on. They're all 1K, but this isn't. This is 2K. Now, I've used 2K lacquer before, and it's fantastic stuff because it goes on really well, dries quickly, and more importantly, it's resistant to petrol, which is essential on a motorbike when you're filling up the tank and so on. The 1K isn't, so you can do a fantastic job on your paintwork, and you get a few drops of petrol on your tank, which you will inevitably will, and it can ruin your paintwork. Whereas if you used the 2K on top, you're safe, because this is resistant to petrol. So what is this 2K paint then? Well, it works by having 2 components. You've got the paint and you've got the hardener. Now when the professionals use it, they mix the hardener with the paint, use it straight away, and away they go. Obviously you can't do that in a can, so how on earth does it work? Well, inside the can there are 2 compartments that are separated. In one compartment is the paint, and in the other compartment is the hardener. And when you want to use your can of paint, you've got a button in the base here that you press really hard and it breaks the seal between the two compartments. You then shake it up, you mix the hardener with the paint, and away you go. Slight problem is the hardener's working all the time inside the can, so within about 24 hours or even less, the can will be solid inside. You can't reuse it. So it's not like these cans where you can spray it one day and come back a week later and carry on. You can't. You've got to use this can really quickly. I've used them before and I've always used them on the same day. I've never tried to use them the next day because I've always used it up, but I believe you've only got a few hours to use the can once you break that seal. Now in the past I have used a different make called Spray Max, a German company, fantastic quality, very happy with it, but just one can of Spray Max 2K lacquer or top coat is about 27 quid, and that's why these 3 cans alone cost 49. But we'll see how I get on with that. So when it comes to using 2K paint, it's really dangerous. It really is. You've got to be so careful. You don't want to breathe in any fumes, any droplets. They'll go into your lungs, they'll harden off, and they'll stay there forever, and it can kill you and cause you all kinds of health issues. So please, if you're going to use this 2K paint, you've got to wear the correct protection. I've got a really good 3M mask, you know, with the separate filters and so on, and I usually do it outside, so I'm good, but you don't be using this stuff and taking any risks. That said, what else can we say about the 2K and the 1K? Well, there is a problem with using the 2 different kinds of paint on your bike or anywhere else, and that is that when you paint your bike with 1K paint, which most people do, as it dries, as it cures, the paint gives off molecules of solvent. That's the thing you can smell, you know, sort of drying paint smell, and it continues to do so for quite a long time, for weeks. That's fine. So what? Well, so what is if you come along when the paint is apparently dry and you paint it with your 2K top coat, this stuff is impervious to that gas that's being emitted from your 1K paint. It's called gassing off when the 1K paint is emitting all those molecules of gas. Because that's impermeable to this gas, it's got to go somewhere, so it can cause bubbles in the paint or even delamination between the top coat and the colour coats below. So you've got to be really careful when you're using the 1K and the 2K combined. So what I have to do, and what I've been told to do, is you've got to wait at least 2 or 3 weeks between applying the 1K and then painting on the 2K top coat. And in the past actually I've waited even longer than that. And you try and ask the experts, well, how long shall I wait? And they never seem to be able to give you an answer. Sometimes it's, oh, you've got to wait a week. No, you've got to wait a month. No, you've got to wait 3 weeks, whatever. So I tend to wait between 2 and 3 weeks. And when I'm waiting, the fresh paintwork is kept somewhere warm and dry where it can dry off and emit all that gas quite happily until it's done. So how do you know it's done? Well, what I do is I smell it. If you put your nose right up against the paintwork and have a good sniff, if you can still smell the paint, it means it's still emitting the gas. Maybe only a few molecules, but if you can smell it, you know, it's still doing it. So I would wait another week or so until it's stopped smelling, and then you can come along and apply your 2K top coat. So yeah, so there's the paint ready to go on the tank. But right now it's cold, it's damp, it's rainy, not a good time to be painting in an unheated garage or anywhere else for that matter. So the paint work will have to wait until the weather improves, maybe in a month or two, because I intend to paint this thing outside on my drive again. I'm going to make some sort of simple tent so I can keep the parts in that little tent as a spray, and hopefully keep off any insects, any bits of twigs and leaves and God knows what else that could fall on the panels as I'm waiting for them to dry, which is the problem I had last time I painted the bike on the drive when I painted my my Z650B, the red bike. And if you go back to the videos of me doing that, you can see the frustration because I get an insect lands on the drying paint, I get a bit of pollen. Oh, it's just a nightmare. So yeah, I'm going to make some kind of tent to put the pieces in to have to try and keep the dust and God knows what else that's floating around in the air away from the paintwork as it dries. But all that is for another day. And so until then, we'll have to put these pieces away and wait, as I say, for the better weather. In the meantime, I've still got a huge amount of work to do. The engine's half built, so I'm going to get back onto the engine build in the next video. And so until then, thanks for watching and cheers.